Where does the image of a girl end and a boy begin? On what scale can we measure visual femininity, and is that scale inherently opposite to visual masculinity? At what point of gender does culture intersect and take over perception? My name is Abe Lee. I'm a non-binary United States citizen living in Tokyo. In English, I am referred to using the pronouns they, them. In Japanese, I use the personal pronoun watashi to refer to myself. Throughout 2024 and 2025, I have been performing research on the visual presentation of non-binary people in Japan. So to start, I'll ask the million-yen question. How does a non-binary person in Japan present themselves visually? In the late 90s to early 2000s, the Kansai region in Japan invented a term to encompass gender fluidity beyond the binary of male and female. Composed of the loanword gender and the verbal pronunciation of X in the English alphabet, X-gender is colloquially understood to be the native Japanese term for what is known in the West as non-binary gender. Gender scholars like Judith Butler separate sex and gender by specifying that the first regards to the body and the second regards to the mind. The category of non-binary is an umbrella that encompasses any gender identity that isn't binary, thus, non-binary. X-gender can be understood as another word for the umbrella category of non-binary, as well as a label within the non-binary umbrella within itself. To understand the position of an X-gender or non-binary person in Japan, I reached out to an expert on the topic to give me some insights. SBF Dale, a scholar of gender studies who wrote their PhD and has numerous published works regarding X-gender people in Japan, spoke with me on this topic.
Right. Should I look at you?
You can look at whatever makes you comfortable. You can look at me. I'll be looking at you, so maybe it's easier if you conversate.
Okay. So my name is Sonia. Full name is Sonia Payfendale, and I usually publish as SPF Dale. I used to do research on X-gender identity in Japan and do research about trans LGBTQIA issues, mostly in Japan. I'm pronoun flexible, so I use anything. But if you're inclined to just use she because you're a little lazy, please try to use something else.
Okay, cool.
If I were just talking to myself, I probably wouldn't use any words to describe my gender identity. But if I'm trying to describe myself to other people, I'll just simply call myself non-binary.
Got you.
I've kind of been interested in trans issues since I was in university. And I guess for y'all younger folks, back in the day, there wasn't much info about trans issues online or different types of identity. There wasn't that much community at the time as well. So I did a lot of reading about trans issues, and I probably found out about some kind of non-binary identity at that time, but the word non-binary wasn't really used back then. The word X-gender, I stumbled upon it when I was trying to find something to write about for my PhD dissertation. And at the time, I was looking for something that meant something similar to androgyny in Japan. And then this word X-gender started popping up. And then I got a bit of a shock because it was like, where did this word come from? How come I've never heard of it? Does it exist in English?
Throughout your paper, you talk a lot about how the X-gender is more of a natively Japanese term.
At the time, I'd only seen in Japan that specific expression, primarily used in Japan to talk about non-binary identity. So I would say that's why I kind of conceived of it as such. I think how we conceive of gender and identity, it's something that it's been changing throughout time as well. And now we really have these recognized concepts of gender identity and gender performance and things like that. I don't think it was always that way. And I think for myself, when I was thinking about my gender, it was more of not really fitting in with the gender that I was assigned and not recognizing that I could get out of that box, for the longest time.
Yes.
So I think I had always known that I felt some discomfort. I used to have a pretty binary understanding of gender, but there was some research about so-called third genders in other cultures, but not so much about the other forms of being that could be possible in our contemporary cultures in the Western-influenced world. And I was also curious about what it meant to get out of one category, that process of shifting or, transition or moving from one thing to another, or just that process of moving somewhere.
Yes.
And I think androgyny, for me, kind of symbolized that space of transitioning into something, but maybe not quite you're not quite sure what exactly.
Right.
Just to be honest, my research is just motivated by personal interest. Right?
I know that well.
Right. So my dissertation was about just finding out more about myself, to be honest, and it was a great opportunity to do so. I'm mixed race, and I know you are too, but I actually grew up mostly in Singapore, in an Asian country, and then all of my higher education was in Europe, and I just kind of was very dissatisfied with the European or Western models of thinking about embodiment or being, and I thought I could find something different in Asia. But unfortunately, all of education is influenced by, very Western theory and whatnot, so you can't really get away from it.
Something you said earlier about androgyny being something in between, but not necessarily getting all the way there.
Yeah.
Something I read about X-gender as a term and as a consideration, specifically from Takeuchi Sensei's recent book, was that X-gender, it can be a part of the transition, but it also can be the final destination.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. I don't think I ever thought of androgyny as a midpoint on the way to somewhere else. But absolutely, X-gender is the landing point, or it is where a lot of people feel comfortable and a lot of people feel at home. It is where they find themselves. It's how they make sense of themselves as well. So absolutely, it is. Yeah. I think it goes in all kinds of directions too, right? You have some people who transition from one gender to another, and then they kind of go back again, or they go to X, or they kind of shift throughout their lives as well. So it can be kind of really fluid in that sense. Gender and sexuality is really, really contextual. So it's not really just in Japan, outside of Japan.
Right.
But how people conceive of gender and understand it is really different everywhere, in all kinds of cultures, and even within the same culture. So I think even in Japan, you have people who understand their identity or who understand gender and X-gender in really different ways as well. So I don't think there's a concrete Japan, outside Japan distinction, because there is so much diversity and difference within people who use the term X-gender, right? You can't really define the fashion, I think. It is whatever people make it. So I think for me, I've actively sought to always keep definitions open, because if you try to close it, you're definitely going to keep someone out.
Certainly.
But people just make assumptions without talking to people and actually finding out about what they mean.
Sonia makes a great point. Everyone is different. So it's imperative that I try to talk directly with the Japanese non-binary community to best understand how they see themselves. According to a 2020 survey of 60,000 people between the ages of 20 and 59, non-binary and X-gender people in Japan make up less than 1.5% of the population, as polled by Dentsu. But despite their small number, surely there must be something that holds the community together in how they present themselves aesthetically. I began to search for periodicals that focused on LGBT+ and non-binary people in particular. I put emphasis on magazines that didn't separate gay and lesbian topics, as well as explored gender as a question rather than a finished statement. Iwakan came to my attention quickly and held my eyes for much longer than some of the other published works I was looking at. In 2025, there are 6 published volumes of the magazine. To get an insider's view of Iwakan, I met up with Andromeda, one of the founders, editors, and translators of the magazine.
Verify. Yep. Okay.
All right.
Wait, let me clap.
Hello, my name is Andromeda. I'm one of the founders of Iwakan magazine, and I've been here in Tokyo for almost 10 years now. Originally from Mexico, grew up in Canada, came to Japan as an exchange student, and been here ever since then, just working and doing this magazine. My pronouns are she, her, they, them, more on the she, her side, but really I'm not too picky on pronouns.
Got you.
So I identify as trans femme, but really, you'll see if you read Iwakan, I'm not such a person who harps so much on labels, but to understand yourself through this society, you have to have something. So trans is the one that works the best for now. So we started Iwakan in 2020. What had happened was that one of the last Japanese monthly gay publications went out of business. So we gathered a bunch of friends and we said we need to make our own magazine, but we wanted it to be something that extended beyond a gay magazine. So something that wasn't just a gay publication. So one of the team members that we had was a cisgender straight woman. And of course, as a woman, you have so many things, how the patriarchy deals with you, that she also had a lot of discomfort towards society. So we were thinking we wanted to extend further than just something that's directly for the LGBTQ community, even though it is made by queer people.
Right.
But we wanted to allow for that sort of space. And really the word Iwakan is unique to Japanese. It's this sort of ambiguous term that anyone can relate to, but also it's just so queer
every time I read things about trans people, iwakan, the term, constantly comes
Yeah,
up.
exactly.
So
before we did Iwakan, we had been doing a lot of events related to gender, community building, and the way that everyone always starts with any conversation is, well, ever since I was 5, I had an Iwakan. Or ever since I was 10, I had an Iwakan. Or when I first dated my first boyfriend, I had Iwakan and realized that I was gay, or like whatever, right? So it's like this word keeps coming up, and it's such a beautiful thing because it's almost the catalyst for you realizing or coming to terms with who you are or your personality, right? Like without that, you are kind of sleeping. You're flowing with what society tells you to do, but the moment you feel iwakan, it's like this moment where you say, oh, I'm going to choose this way. I want to go here because that's me. And it's like a sign of your own personal ishi. I don't know how to say it in English, but like your will in a sense. So it's kind of, it's a really positive term, but in Japanese society, it's kind of negative. You know, if you feel iwakan, it's not good. You want to diminish it as much as you can, but we thought that's actually one of the things that makes queer people and everyone in general so beautiful, because it's a moment of reflection and also a moment to take action towards building something that's uniquely yours.
Right.
Maybe I will say that it's easier to find community abroad, I think, because people are more open with their sexuality, with their experiences on social media, you know, just in general, right? Whereas I think Japan, not just related to queer people, but people are much more conservative with their like personal life.
Right.
Though that's definitely changed because of social media. You know, you have such access to so many different resources now. But even then, I think the in-person experience that you have in Japan, I'm not knocking it down, but it can feel a bit like it's one specific group within the LGBT community's city. And also like it's almost like you enter Disneyland where you can be yourself, but then you return to society and you are no longer yourself.
Right.
So it's not like in Western liberal Americanized ideology-based societies where it's like you are always yourself. Like you should always be yourself. And if people don't agree with that, well, screw them, right? Like have fun, be yourself inside of this bar, but when you're outside, like you play the part of everyone else. So I think the Japanese experience is way more used to code switching than you would have in other places, I think. And that maybe builds your personality a different way, I think.
And Nichome is mostly like a drinking type area. So if you don't drink, I know a lot of my friends are also socially anxious. It's a little bit hard for them to make it all the way out to Nichome. So
I think one of the aspects that is really positive in Japan for queer people, and I think this is probably more based in Tokyo or if you're in a big city, but I think as an adult, you have way less fear of violence in Japan.
Yes.
I think that even if you are, like there's so many different problems in Japan. I think like mental issue, bullying in the workplace and stuff, like it exists. And, you know, there's a lot of cases of suicide and everything. So I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but usually people will respect you as an adult. So you're not walking around fearing that someone's going to knife you or shoot you or stab you, which is a very different experience than being queer in the West, which also brings a layer where it's like you don't necessarily have to fight so hard to exist. I think in the West, you're always fighting to exist because if you don't fight, someone's going to come and stab you.
That is definitely a huge difference between Western and Japanese society.
I think it's almost a lonelier way of suffering because everyone's doing it behind a screen.
Yeah.
So you have to receive it and process it alone. There's definitely pros and cons of both. As a trans woman, I find it way safer to be in Japan. Like, I don't think I would have had the courage to transition or do anything related to that if I was in America.
Oh,
because it's like, well, I'm going to get like aggressed. Yeah. Here you have like microaggressions every single day, which is so frustrating. But, you know, Iwakan has different editors, so we all have different points of view. But I think what Iwakan is interested in is how fashion is a tool, or people think that it's a given how you're dressing, but every piece of clothing that you pick has a meaning. There's symbols and it's coded, right?
Right.
You're coding yourself in the way that you want to be understood. For society. So I think the focus on Iwakan is not so much on stating a specific point of view on fashion, but just having people realize how everything is so imbued with a meaning. You can make statements with how you dress, you can try and disappear with how you dress, and it's so important, right? Like the way that, you know, Komai sets an armor, I've had that definitely when I was younger, being a young queer kid in the country, like in the suburbs, being fashionable was kind of like a way to put a different personality on, so I could like maybe have distance from myself and also have distance from people, like all the things that you are trying to say or not say about yourself through your clothing. And if you're someone who's trying to be more masc presenting, like how you can use fashion to change how people are like perceive you through the world.
Right.
And also how, at least for me, like how non-congruous clothing is used, right? Pants are very masculine and skirts are very feminine, but then women can wear pants. So it's like, oh, okay, so that's not the case for pants. Like pants are then gender neutral. And it's like, well, if it's so willy-nilly, if you realize how socially constructed all the meaning within clothing is, then it actually doesn't have meaning, right? Like it does have meaning, but that meaning can be adapted to your society. So we shouldn't be uptight about like how clothing is used in a certain way, right?
Right, certainly.
Andromeda helped me understand the perspective of Iwakan. But what does the layperson think of non-binary fashion? I reached out directly to a few non-binary people living around Japan to get a better picture of the world they see and live in.
光です。で、認証代名詞は they, them で、日本語だと私って言ってます。
ジェンダーアイデンティティは何ですか？
ノンバイナリーです。日本の関東で生まれて育って、仕事がこっち東京なので東京に引っ越してきて今は IT 系の仕事をしています。
はい、わかります。
はい。
ひかりさんはノンバイナリーのことをいつ初めて思った？
そうですね、なんかその自分がノンバイナリーかどうかっていうのはちょっとその言葉がそもそも知らなかったからよく分かってなかったんですけど、今までそのなんか自分はその普通の人と違うなっていうのはずっと思ってて、でもなんかレズビアンっていう言葉もしっくりこなくてなんだろうなってずっと思ってて、多分2017年くらいにその SNS とかでFTX とか MTX って言葉を聞いたのが、でもその時はちょっとよく分からなくて何のことなんだろうなってちょっとぼんやり思ってるくらいだったんですけど、2019年くらいにマーベルのロキっていうキャラクターがすごく好きになって、でそのロキが、ジェンダーフルイドであるっていうことを知って、それってなんかすごく自分に似てるなと思って。そこからノンバイナリーについて調べ始めた私だっていうふうに思ったのがきっかけです。
じゃあその前に、例えば違和感が持った、
そうですね、違和感は確かにありました。カミングアウトってその言葉で私はそのノンバイナリーですっていうのもが一番大きいカミングアウトだとは思うんですけど、なんか服装でこう自分を表現することもカミングアウトの一部だと思っていて、私はこういう人間ですっていうのをこう見せるっていうのが大きいのかなと思っていて、なのでそのこう初めて会った人に私はこういう人間ですっていうのをこう服装でこう少しアピールしてるような感じなのかなっていうふうに思ってます。私のファッションスタイルは多分どちらかというとボーイッシュよりちょっと男性よりかなと思ってます。私は見た目だと人から女性だと認識されてしまうので、ファッションを男性寄りにすることで少しその自分のノンバイナリーさをこう安定させるようにしているというかような感じがします。
わかるわかる。
私はほとんどスカートを履かないです。比較的モノトーンが多い、黒とか白が多いかなと思ってます。何を目指したらいいのかというわからないので、ちょっとインスタグラムとかピンタレストとかを見ながらこう何がいいかなみたいなのをピックアップしているような感じです。
わかるわかる。
ノンバイナリーファッションとかで検索して、あとアンドロジナシスファッションとかで検索してこうどういう黒系のなんかこう性別がちょっとなんか曖昧そうなのを探してみたりとかしてます。
アンドロジナスを探しますか？中性じゃなくて。
私的にはアンドロジナシスはどちらかというと中性っていうなんか認識なので、そうですね、多分そこからこう自分に合いそうなものをこうピックアップするような感じです。
わかる。
結構気分によって変わるというか、ベースはこうなんかこう結構ブカブカな服でこうメンズ男性寄りではあるんですけど、なんか今日はちょっと女性っぽいものを入れてみたいなって思ったらこうトップスだけは女性ものを着て、下はメンズものを着るみたいな感じでこう気分によって変えてる、そのちょっとジェンダーフルイド的なところももしかしたらあるのかもしれないですね。ジェンダーニュートラルっていう風に出てる服も結局パターンとしてはなんかメンズが多いような気がしていて、なんか例えばまっさらな T シャツとか、ちょっとダボっとしたような服ってこれって結局メンズじゃないみたいな感じに思ってしまって、なので自分でバランスを取るしかないっていうような感じです。男性がもしスカートを履いてたら、ジェンダーレスの服としてスカートも機能するかもしれないけど、今の その日本の状況だと男性はスカートを履かないから、そうなるとどうしても女性の服って思われちゃうからスカートを履くっていうのには結構抵抗があるっていう感じです、私は。人と関わる上でその自分自身のことを自分はノンバイナリーだっていうふうに思ってるのはこう自分対自分の関係だと思っていて、なのでファッションは人と関わる上で自分をどう認識してもらいたいかっていうところでファッションがその役割を担ってるのかなと思います。
私もそういう感じ、はっきりわかります。
曖昧さはなんか可能性だと思っていて、その男女ってはっきり分かれているのではなくて、その曖昧なところがあるっていうことがすごく安心するというか、セーフゾーンみたいに感じます。
Hikari-san represents one part of the picture, but I wanted to see what other opinions could be out there. So Sonia introduced me to Kyoko Takeuchi-san.
My name is Kyoko Takeuchi, pronounced they them basically. But actually I don't like using they them pronouns so much because I speak only Japanese.
Right.
And there are not many chances to speak in English, and I prefer being called just Kyoko or Kyoko-san.
I see.
Yeah. I work at the Kansei Gakuen University. I teach gender and sexuality and queer studies. I think I was 20 or 21 when I heard of X-gender. It was a university sexual minority group event. The leader of the group explained about the basic concepts about gender and sexuality. The term X-gender was included. Basically, I didn't know much about the non-binary concepts before because I lived in very rural places.
I see.
And I didn't have chances to learn about the diversity of gender identities. I'm a member of some X-gender non-binary communities.
Yes.
But it's basically online communities. Actually, I don't like face-to-face communication so much. so I like to express myself by writing.
I see.
Yes.
Kyoko-san wrote a book about gender non-conforming people regarding their research.
I research about X-gender people in Japan, especially the history of communities and concept of X-gender in Japan, because I had various interesting conversation with X-gender folks, like elderly people, and they had very different experience compared to the younger generation. So I'm very interested in why they talk so differently about their experience and the meaning of the concept X-gender. I started my research by interviewing some of my X-gender friends. My first research was coming out process.
I see. Yes. Yeah. Especially in Japan, it seems like it's a bit different from abroad.
Oh, yeah, I think so. I don't know much about the coming out experience abroad, but basically in Japan, it's very difficult because very few people understand the non-binary identities, of course. So many people hesitate to come out. They are very close. They just communicate with non-binary individuals. One of the informants of my interview said, you have mental disorder by their parents. It's very difficult.
Some of what I've read from your book is discussing the medicalization of gender in Japan. And I find that fascinating because in the United States, it's something we've kind of moved past, not entirely, but in the past, people used to think of transgender person being medically disabled, but nowadays it's seen as something a little bit different. So.
Yeah. In Japan, the concept of gender identity disorder was spread through the media coverage and TV. So many elderly generation or parent generation remember the concept of gender identity disorder.
New half とか
New half, onabe.
お鍋とか
X-gender was kind of invented by some of the people in trans community in Japan, especially in Kansai region in the 1990s.
Yes.
And at the time, the term non-binary was not recognized. But in Japan, I think the term non-binary became prevalent through the internet site,
I see.
especially in the late 2010s.
2010s, yes.
2010s. So I think generation is very important.
Yeah.
Younger
I agree.
generation identify themselves as non-binary.
I understand that completely. And that's just between the stickiness of terms and what people like about certain terms over the others.
Yeah. And I found that in Japan, I feel that we don't have much communities for non-binary individuals. I know some non-binary individuals who feel very lonely and isolated, especially if you live in a very rural space. Of course, in Tokyo and Osaka, there are some communities or kind of queer space.
Yes.
But still, even in Kansai region, it's very difficult to find the queer-friendly space, except for Tokyo. In such case, they prefer communicating with each other online because they can connect with various non-binary individuals who live in various places all over Japan. And so I think it's good that we have community, online community or space.
Kyoko-san is well connected in the online community, but what does the physical in-person community in Tokyo look like? I wanted to figure that out, so I made my way to Blackbird in Sasazuka. Megumi-san and Kelly are a non-binary married couple in Tokyo who run Blackbird, a bar/coffee shop/event space that hosts queer-related events almost every day.
Well, my name's Kelly Williams, and my pronouns are they, them, and I identify as non-binary and androgyne. I'm originally from the United States. I grew up in Utah, but I lived in Seattle before moving to Japan. I've been here quite a long time. And I'm also co-owner with Megumi of Blackbird Eatery, where we're filming today, and very excited for this.
Thank you, and I'm very excited to have you guys here with me as well. Well, it's your place, but thanks for having me.
My name is Megumi Williams. Gender identity, gender non-conformity. I haven't thought about my pronouns because I didn't grow up with the pronoun.
In which case, do you mind telling me in Japanese how you refer to yourself? Like, watashi, boku, ore?
Jibun.
Jibun. Okay.
I grew up around here near the Yoyogi Park.
I see.
We are recording this at our cafe, Blackbird Eatery.
Blackbird Eatery was started about a year and a half ago. And the idea was when we reopened our cafe post-pandemic, we wanted to have a space that was queer inclusive and also supported the queer community in Tokyo without having to be a bar environment.
So this place, we are welcome everybody as long as you are open-minded and care for what we are trying to build up here.
So a lot of what we do here is driven by trying to bring people together in community. And one of those things is we started a queer fashion exchange. And the idea behind that was everybody has clothes lying around their house that they don't use or don't need anymore, or maybe they just don't fit their identity anymore. So we invite everyone to come and bring their clothes and exchange. And it's a lot of fun because then people can try out different clothes. They can try clothes that maybe are aligning with where the direction of their gender identity.
Well, we had so much clothes at home and we were thinking what to do, and Kelly was trying out lots of skirts, and so we thought, how about we should just share this with other non-binary people. We just figured out so many people are thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's been quite a lot of fun watching people explore, especially people who are too shy to go and shop in a store that might be opposite of their assigned gender.
I think it's a great idea. I've met quite a few people who have joked about, like, I just want to take all of the skirts I have and trade them with someone else, and etc. Because that way you can, reuse what already exists and not have to add into the already expanding fashion industry and such.
Every day I just get inspired by people I meet.
Yeah.
Like Kelly, for example, once they figured out what they want to wear really and figure out the curves they have and start wearing more tight skirts. And I thought, that's beautiful. So I want to be like that.
I tend to think of my style as non-binary, which I know is extremely vague. But I guess what I'm looking for in style is trying to find something that illustrates the feminine aspects and the masculine aspects from the binary, but also trying to find a middle ground. So I tend to think of my fashion as a mix between kind of dark Tokyo mode with quite a bit of Gothic influence from my whole life. And I also love vintage fashion and styles, so I try to blend it all together, but I really don't know what to call it.
I mean, you've done well, because that's sometimes if you can't explain something in one word, a bunch of words is great.
I think it's very important to wear something you're comfortable.
Right.
So I don't know what could express the non-binariness. It changes every day. Today we had the American blues rehearsal, so I dress American, I think. So I just stopped thinking too much and just start wearing whatever I like. Because people will just decide. So I cannot care about that too much.
Certainly. No, and that's just as valid.
I just wear what I like, what I feel like that day.
Like what can be comfortable, what might fit the energy of what's going on.
Yeah.
I've spoken to quite a few people who wear what's comfortable because they don't really feel comfortable in what might be feminine or masculine. So they just choose things for the fabric or for the utility of it.
Skirts were a big leap for me towards expressing non-binariness. It's so taboo for an assigned male at birth person to wear a skirt in so much of society that it felt defiant for me, and I think that was a big part of trying to say to the world I'm non-binary. So I do try to integrate some feminine pieces that challenge that gender barrier as much as possible, while still kind of staying in a lane where I feel comfortable.
There's some writing on the fact that queer aesthetics are best described through a rebellion, and specifically the word promiscuousness, not necessarily in a sexuality way, but specifically as the understanding of there being a norm and choosing to go against that norm for the point of going against it. And that can be considered queer aesthetics. So I understand what you're coming from.
Yeah, I would agree with that entirely. I think non-binary people are, at least in my lifespan, are something relatively recent to be out and proud and visible. And being able to hit that central aesthetic that defines that for me, it feels like confrontation in a way, and at the same time it feels really like, you know, making a strong statement about who you are.
Right.
So that balance, I guess, is part of the motivator. I don't follow anybody that inspires me for fashion, but I think I'm heavily influenced by subcultures that I was a part of.
Yeah.
I am inspired a bit by Tokyo's mode scene. You know, kind of really nice black clothing.
Right.
Really speaks to me, so I love that. Gothic culture was a place where queer people could hide for a lot of my generation, where you could be accepted, you could challenge gender norms for clothing, and it was okay. So I think the aesthetic of that culture is really a big part of how I see queerness as fashion, so yeah, definitely. Being able to express my gender identity helped me communicate it to people. And it also helped me feel at home in that space, because for a long time I hid in boy drag. And when I could finally kind of come to the middle on a public level, being able to dress that way made all the difference for me in feeling confidence. But I think most of all in just being able to communicate with people that, okay, this is who I am and this is how I want to be seen and accepted.
Sometimes having a simple word to explain, like, although earlier we were talking about how like having multiple words to explain a style can be easier, sometimes having the label to say, oh, I'm non-binary, can be a lot easier than the explanation.
Very, very true. I think it's critical.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I met many Japanese queer people who really can't be that open about it because of their job or situation.
Right.
So they have to kind of hide in their clothes. So you have to find that fine line that could make you happy. So I'm trying to figure that out right now too.
No, I completely understand. The important part about non-binariness is that it's forever a challenge to figure out yourself.
Yeah.
The challenge is the destination. It's a forever moving understanding. There's a word in Japanese, aimai, and I feel like it aligns very well with the concept of being non-binary.
Yeah, I agree.
I think non-binariness is ambiguity.
I think to some people, we are all I think.
Certainly.
Me or some of my friends, I think people cannot figure out what we are. We're kind of in between or fluid. So I'm just trying to be comfortable.
Every non-binary person I've ever met is different and doesn't fit neatly into a box. I think when people see me in public, they don't see ambiguity. They often see a guy in a skirt, which is just the way society works. But I think when people interact with me, that's where the ambiguity gets introduced, where they see elements that don't align with the definition of one of the binaries.
Right.
And that kind of makes me happy because that middle space is where I want to be.
Megumi-san stresses the importance of comfort in one's clothing, and Kelly believes that ambiguity is understood best not only by first glance, but also by one's personality, mannerisms, etc. Blackbird's Queer Fashion Exchange sees many Kanto area LGBT plus people. But what of the rest of Japan? I traveled south to the Kansai area to meet up with Q-chan in Osaka.
Okay, perfect.
はい、Q ちゃんです。よろしくお願いします。和歌山から来ました。で、僕のセクシャリティはゲイであることと、あとそのノンバイナリージェンダーであることっていうのを、社会にカミングアウトをして生活をしています。僕はヒムです。はい。
はい、わかります。
はい。
普通に僕を使いますか？
そうですね。僕は自分のアイデンティティの中で、その男性っていう部分っていう意識が結構強めにあるので、で僕っていうのを普段から使っています。僕がノンバイナリージェンダーっていうことを、そのカミングアウトというか、そのオープンにするようになったのが割と3年ぐらい前、最近で、ただもっと前11年12年ぐらい前から、服装のファッションスタイルは今のこんな形で、いわゆるメンズレディースっていうところに、そのカテゴライズを自分に当てはめないこだわらないっていうところを、するっていうのはもうしていたので、だからノンバイナリージェンダーだっていうことを、そのオープンに、そのしたからって言ってそのファッションスタイルが何か変わるっていうのは、ないけれども、ただなんかこうノンバイナリージェンダーっていう、そのセクシャリティのカテゴリーっていうところがあることで、その周りの人たちのこうジェンダーエクスプレッションの、どんな感じでしてるのかなっていうのを見て、自分にとっていいなって思うものがあればちょっと取り入れていくというか、メイク的な部分とかはヘアスタイルとかは最近特にそうかな。僕のファッションスタイルは自分のそのジェンダーエクスプレッションの中で男性女性っていうところにカテゴライズを自分からもあえてしない。自分にとってマッチするというか、合うもの、着たいもので、なおかつその社会に何かこう不利益を与えてしまうとか迷惑をかけないっていうところのなんかこうそこのなんていうバランスっていうところを自分なりにちょっと考えています。大阪とか似てるとすごく X ジェンダーって言葉聞くことはすごく多いけど、ノンバイナリーも聞かないことはないけど、比率的に言うと X ジェンダーの方が多いなとは思ってたので、やっぱりそこは地域差があるんですね。関東の方がよく言われるんですね。
それに、X ジェンダーの言葉は大阪から来ました。
大阪から関西にいるとなかなかこういう形で自分らしくというか、今のこのスタイルで過ごしたいなと思っても、なんかこう過ごすのが難しいというか、ちょっとこう気持ち的にちょっとこうどうしようかなって考えてしまうことがやっぱりないわけではない、多いんですけど、で大阪とか、東京とか、いわゆるその関西地域の都会で、関東の都会の中には LGBTQ コミュニティがたくさんあるので、そういうコミュニティに行けばもう自分らしさっていうところを何も隠す必要もないというか、我慢をする必要はないんだけど、 なかなかでも東京と大阪と比べるとやっぱり東京の方がすごくそこはなんていう華やかというか受け入れられてるんだろうなっていう関西の人から見る見方で、その周辺のその関東、東京以外のその地域、その埼玉とか千葉とか神奈川とか他の周りの地域の人たちも比較的多分東京っていうのはまだアクセスがしやすいというか、まだその関われる部分があるけれども、関西とかだと大阪に住んでても結構あんまり大阪のコミュニティって大阪市にっていうところが多いので、あんまりちょっと行くのはちょっと遠いなとか、親とか周りの人たちに、僕はないけど他の人だったらその何をしに行くのとか、自分のその自分らしさを出すために、その大阪に行く東京に行くみたいなっていうのは、やっぱり都会と地方っていうのはやっぱりそこはその差が出るので、そこがより関西と関東だったら多分関東の方がもうちょっと華やかというか、なんかよりオープンにしやすい環境があるんじゃないのかな。関東も結構北側とかちょっと西側とか今ちょっと南に行くとまたちょっと雰囲気は変わるかなとは思うんですけど、っていうのはなんか関西と関東の違いっていうのは思ってます。曖昧なものを何かその言葉で説明をしようと思うとなかなか難しいなって思うのがあって。僕自身の今のこのファッションのスタイルもさっきちょっとその男性女性っていうところにカテゴライズをしない、自分にとっていいと思う、表現のスタイルっていう話はしたんですけど、なんかそれをもっと短い言葉というかいい言葉がなかなか見つからないくって、今日本の中にある中性っていう言い方だったりとか、あとそのジェンダーフリーとか、いろいろだって当てはまらないというか、なんかちょっと突っ込みたくなる、ちょっと関西の人だからかもしれないけど、いやそれちゃうねんみたいなっていうふうにちょっと言いたくなっちゃうけど、自分にとっていい言葉が見つからない、一番その近い部分であるのがノンバイナリーかなっていう部分はあるので、無理にその言葉の表現をする必要はないかなって僕は思ってるので、その曖昧さは曖昧さでそのままそっと置いといても僕はいいかなっていうのは今は思っています。また変わるかもしれないけど。
Like Q-chan says, everything will always have the possibility to change. But is constant change such a bad thing? I started this research because it impacts me. When I was a teenager, I found a video of Sonya talking about their research on ex-gender people. I remember thinking, oh, that's just like me. There's people out there just like me, even all the way across the ocean in Japan. So this is for all the kids out there who need to hear it, and for you who can learn to cherish the kid inside of you. Presenting as non-binary isn't a set look of androgyny. It's not men's style t-shirts or a trendy phase in the fashion cycle. It's about comfort, about balancing fluidity, about honoring your inner kid, and taking on that endless challenge to define who you are. It's about the ambiguity of the self and all the versions that self can be. So now I ask you this. How do you fashion yourself as non-binary?
Give me a moment. If you guys want to clap with me, you can. You don't have to. 3, 2, 1.
5 issues. 6.
You forgot the last one. It's okay. We don't need men.
We don't. Well, sometimes we do.
Style me.
All right, I can stretch a bit.
Please stay in frame.
Why can't I see in the viewfinder?
Because I have a really old camera and it hates me. What's your name, by the way? And it hates you too. Sorry?
So now I ask you this. How do you fashion yourself as ambiguous? Ugh.